All right. Hey guys. Yeah, just making sure that audio's working. So this is my first live stream I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to go over the stuff I've done for the O2A2 Game Jam. Let me go ahead and just open that up. So the O2A2 Visual Novel Jam, let's just read through this real quick. It's the only one of any asset visual novel game jam. Basically, everything that you need to make a visual novel, you need to keep it down to like one of each. So one sprite. Oh, we got the thing over here. One sprite, one background, one illustration. I don't use that. 1,000 words, not a lot of words. You get a background sound file, a sound effect, possibly a voice actor if you want, one piece of menu background art, and really only one main project. Hey, ooh. So it is a very quick game jam. You have a week to do this whole thing. So I can start over for you, Uwu. My first little... Oh, 2 viewers now. That's fun. But yeah, it's a very quick game jam. And I personally, it is one of my favorites. If only because it really makes you realize like what's important and what you really need for a visual novel. And my bird is falling out of my hair. Everything's good. I finished up all of my game jam stuff on time, and I think it's pretty good. But it's a very restrictive game jam game jam to participate in. It really forces you to be very careful with what you end up making. So with that, I'm just gonna go over real quick, just my whole entry. We'll play through it, and then I'll show you guys some of the backscene stuff I used to build it up. So yeah, wholeness. Ceci n'est pas un phantom. I ruined that. That is awful. But I took the works of Rene Magritte. Because of this whole game jam, you can really only use one sprite, one background. I realized very quickly, like, art's going to be the thing that's going to take the most amount of time. Hi again. Art's going to be the thing that's going to take the most amount of time. So to keep that pretty short, I ended up just taking a painting from Rene Magritte that had one character and one background, and I ended up just kind of making a whole visual novel out of it so I could focus on a lot of the programming aspects, which I know you guys are kind of interested about. So a lot of this stuff, I'm doing stuff that I've done tutorials for on this channel, and I have a few other unique things up my sleeve. And I also have some clarifications on some of the things that I've built earlier. Let's see here. Ooh, last time I tried a VN Game Jam, it was NaNoRenO, and I got 2 attached to one of the characters and spent the entire month drawing them instead of deving. Yeah, that sort of stuff will happen. During a lot of these game jams, you kind of have to kill your darlings, because you'll realize there's some part of it that you really enjoy and you really like doing, but you do not have enough time to do it because you got to split your time amongst like all these other tasks. So I'm gonna do a short video on this like later on of just like the actual process of this. For this jam, I'm just gonna go over kind of the meat and potatoes of it. But I did have a last minute sort of thing where I threw out my scripts that I really liked because it just didn't fit with the rest of this. But here, I'll go over this first. Do you want me to read it too? I can read it. Yeah. Phantomas. A name spoken in glances. In the original French, it's spelled with invisible ink. I'm awful at reading this. I'm so sorry. Dead men tell no tales, but phantomas eludes even the imagination. I am just the worst at reading this. Does that answer your question? Let's see here. Does Renpi have Google Play achievements? It does. Oh, wait. Google Play achievements. I'd have to look up on how to do integration with that. I am not super happy right now with a lot of Renpi integration with Google Play, just because there's a lot of stuff that I like using that doesn't have Android support. So that's something that I'm going to be looking into later on. I might incorporate it into Spooktober if I do that game jam, but yeah. The stranger, nondescript, nods as I take out a cigarette. Yes, that seems about right, Detective Rengus. Does that look familiar to anybody? The shaking text there? I clench the lighter in my pocket as I take the cigarette from my mouth and put it behind my right ear. So you've been following me. By the way, I'm not going to read this series. I've played through this thing so many times now. I cannot give any like real emotion to this. I'm just going to run through it. Because if you want to play it, I have a link in the description. It's really meant to be kind of read and sat there, enjoy it. Really, for this stream, I want to focus on a lot of the little things that I did. This blur effect here, all these camera movements. This is a faux 3D scene that I built in here. And even just the character here, you'll see him at like different angles and stuff like that. That's used with the Live 2D integration, which I haven't gone into in this channel yet, but like I will. You will. Boop, 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 boop. And I really like, so that little like body turn there, that's done in Live 2D, and I'll go over that in a little bit. See, if I was reading it, that would have been a real like, whoa moment, but there we go. Look at that. Using some inverse color effects. Here you can really kind of see, I did a little wave effect in the water there that you really don't see from a distance, but like up close like this, you can kind of get a better sense of it. There we go. In this part, this is the part that I really liked. Let's see here. B. Franklin says, I decided to make a VN for a jam last minute. This is giving me some ideas. I've seen some really cool stuff from 0282 too. It's worth checking out. Like a lot of people have different ideas of how to set up like really short, small narratives. And vignettes are really what you should be making for game jams. A lot of people try to make like a fully fleshed out game or like a vertical slice, and that just seems like the wrong direction to go in entirely. So yeah, it's very much worth checking out other people's game jam entries. Every so often people export them in ways where you can actually kind of dig into their code. There was one game jam piece, I won't name it, but they set it where it was like white text with black bordering on it, and it was against a white background, so it's just super hard to read. So I did a little mod to it. I was kind of lucky enough, and honestly reading it like on a proper kind of, just white text against black, not any of this kind of multi-layered stuff, it made it a lot easier. And I actually ended up rereading it from the beginning, and I was like, oh, okay, I like this now. I'm less frustrated. But even just like little design stuff where, I was experimenting with that I think game jam pieces are really great for. I had this bit where I'm like, oh, I just kind of like the ocean and the sky, like put it to black. That's like a great piece to go ahead and tell like its own little short story in. So just visually, you have earlier this kind of set of the sprite, the wall, the ocean, the sky. And, all of a sudden you put that, recontextualize it so it's just the sky and all that sort of stuff. It puts you in a different kind of frame of mind there. And then you get the camera slowly panning back, so you sort of see the main character again there. And then suddenly, whoa! Oh, zoom in. There's so many directorial things that you'll get with visual novels that are always done like very sporadically. But yeah, they're great when you have the chance to do them. So let's see here. Yeah, B. Franklin, yeah, I tried making a full VN by myself and it was a half-finished mess. I'm aiming for more of a brief moment in their lives kind of VN. Yeah, I mean, just don't do that for jams, man. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I can say. Like, I got like full VNs kind of on the side. When I think of projects that are very specifically for jams, like I need to plan for it to be for a jam. I'm an artist primarily, not a programmer. I have over 10 years of experience in the industry working as a game artist, which is why I know how to handle a lot of these animation tools. And when I'm programming, I'm thinking less about like, what kind of game systems I can throw in there, and more like, nice Magritte. I didn't paint the Magritte. The Magritte I took. But only because I know like, oh, I can take the Magritte, I can cut it apart in Live 2D. I can split it. Oh, actually, I got to go into the Photoshop stuff with it a little bit. But yeah, camera angles, fun. Most of this stuff is just a static scene. Once the scene was built, it was just a matter of moving the camera around the scene. So it's actually very easy to do on the code end of things. I think that's the only time I move the sprite really in a while. And then if you guys recognize this, that's the rain effect that I did a Renpi cookbook entry on. I have been waiting for a chance to use it, and using it to kind of double up on Renee. By the way, I took the one Magritte painting and I basically used it to do 3 different Magritte paintings. I read a book on, oh, which I still have the book. Hold on, let me grab it real quick. You're going to see my green screen now. All right. So I got to return this to the library because I am picking up a book I need for my next project. But, haha. All right. So I picked up this book, Magritte by Lex Donchev, which I guess was like the last book he wrote before he died. He writes a lot of things on artists. But I read the whole book through. I just kind of poured myself into Rene Magritte stuff for like a week before the jam entry started. And I found like paintings where I knew I could kind of connect them and put them together. And that's kind of where I came with the, headless version of this guy. That's another Rene Magritte painting. The, guy, being rained on, whatever, that sort of stuff. So it's just a chance to use a lot of programming tools that we have at our disposal to kind of take that apart there. So boop, 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 boop. Zoom in. This took way longer than you'd think. And then I'll plant their guy. All right, cool. So yeah, if you guys actually want to read that without me talking over it, the link's in the description. But for now, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of stuff right now. And let's go into some of the interesting... Oh, actually, no. Want to know what? Hopefully nothing else shows up on Photoshop here when I look this up. Sorry. Title Phantomas. Oh no, I hope I didn't get rid of it. Oh, I feel bad. Oh, nope, there it is. Okay, awesome. All right. So, this is all that stuff taken apart. Let me find a copy of Son of Man Magritte images. This is a much worse version of it. I actually had to search around a lot to find a really good copy of this painting. So, how did I take this painting and I expanded it out where I got the whole background, all that sort of stuff? That's where we can use a lot of interesting Photoshop tools, which I'm sure if you're using Clip Studio Paint, like, you can also use them. So I did a quick selection over this guy. Then you can go content aware fill, content aware. There we go. And that gets you most of the way there. So that just fills in a lot of those gaps in there. Obviously, I didn't get the hands and whatever, but, just a little bit of time, a little bit of paint over. You can basically get that full background right in there. And that's what this is. Then, because I knew that I was going to be taking this background apart in Live 2D, I needed to make sure everything was super straight. So you'll notice that these things all follow some guidelines here that I set. So we have the top of the wall there, the front, which now that I'm thinking about the top of the wall, I really did not have to do that. That seems like a waste. We have the horizon line between the water and the sky there, which seems a little bit off. And then Magritte himself, because Son of Man was one of many self-portraits that he did. He's just cut apart, and in Live 2D, I kind of go into more of the nitty-gritty of it. But I took this part, I expanded out the water, made the, oh, you can also do, edit, transform, sorry, scale. You can also set that for, oh no, where is it? I think it's content aware scale. Hold on. Oh god, this is like the worst time to like forget how to do this. There we go, content aware scale. That's another tool you can use where, whoop, so excited. If you need a background like stretched out a little bit, but you don't want it to just be like flat stretched out, content aware scale basically is going to go, what are the areas of like high noise? So like this little assemblage there, it says like, oh, hey, there's like a lot of noise there. We know that must be important then. So it'll only expand and contract the parts where there's just like a lot of kind of similar stuff. So especially I'm going to be doing some experiments with Dolly's stuff next month. There's a lot of application to just being able to take, you know, whatever size picture you have. If it's like, oh, it's not quite the right proportion, instead of having to zoom in, you can just use this content aware scale, fit it as you need it. But this is pretty much how things got started. And it was on day one, it was maybe an hour of work to just get all of these things separated. The big chunk of time was then taking everything into Live 2D, which, again, I have not gone into it at all on this channel because I have been a game artist for over 10 years. I know a lot of the software and stuff like that. And I really feel like I need to, I don't know how to put this. I want to do it justice. And with programming, at least I can go like, oh, okay, this is like for beginners. But I feel like as an artist, I really kind of, I owe you guys a really great tutorial on Live 2D, and it's really tough when Live 2D's documentation is all machine translated from Japanese, and it is very hard to understand. So, actually, there we go. So in Live 2D, what I can do is I can take a full image and I can just create custom meshes. So, whoops. Okay, yeah, let me select a thing. There's a full body. Nope. Okay, hold on. Where is the mesh there for that? I know you should be working there. Why wouldn't you show anything there? All right. Hold on. I'll find this. Oh, is it because it's set on for invisible or something? Yep, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yep, okay. All right, my bad. Hold on. Body on. Body curve. Okay. Sorry, this is a very complicated thing. So that's the body there. Let me figure out which one of these things turns the whole body on there. Full body. There we go. So that's the full Magritte sprite there, and it's just the one sprite that I use for a lot of other stuff. And then for every part of it, I would just create a custom mesh for it to just isolate that one particular part there. So let's turn off the body and turn on the apple. So the apple there is just mesh done. Let me grab the apple there. Not plant, just apple. So I'm just defining this is all the parts of that sprite that I want to define to be that one apple. So it's just a small part of that one chunk. So I separated Magritte into those little chunks that I know that I needed. So I have the body there, I have his face, I have the bowler hat there, which, oh, that's bowler size, and bowler on there. Bowler size, there we go. And you notice I kind of had to distort his face a little bit for one of the scenes where I just kind of wanted to show the side, so I just stretched some stuff out there. But once I have all these meshes together, and notice that all of the body parts here, I made sure that the mesh was following a lot of lines along his body. That's because when I start using new parameters, now right now I've just been showing you guys parameters in terms of how to turn stuff on and off, but parameters really where they're useful is to define body warps. So let's do a turn the face off because I don't think I used the face for anything. That would have taken way too long. So for the bowler warp, oh look, he's looking left, he's looking right, or to his left, to his right. There we go. That's a cool little effect. For the body, but that's the bowler again. Body direction. There we go. Looking to the left, looking to the right. There we go. That's all I'm doing for this thing. And then for the background itself, you'll note, oh, actually, let me go back for a second. So you can, for each of these parameters, what it's doing is it's saving all of the changes in the state of that mesh. So if I have full body, or not full body, sorry. I don't know how I managed this so quick during the game. If I was doing this for like a long term, everything would be much better labeled, but I got this done in like a few hours here. So for the body warp, what I could have done is find the body direction. There we go. What I could have done is set each one of those things to move where I wanted it to go. But you can't layer on body directions on top of each other. Now, I was experimenting with making him move like, you know, top and bottom, so like up and down. That proved to be a little bit more complicated than I was hoping, but it gives me a chance to show you guys the body curves. So on that mesh, you can also apply curves to it, which you can kind of see in this bottom corner here. These are basically like little meshes that you can put on top of that, where when you're moving stuff around, we're just moving the mesh point, the mesh on top of the body mesh. See, this is why the Japanese live 2D documentation needs better translation and localization, because I'm sure they have more acute terms for this. Are you going to leave this stream up for afterwards? Yes, that's the plan, mistakes and all. So you guys will be able to watch this later on. I would not use this for like, this is not a good live 2D tutorial at all. But if you're just kind of, you know, need to go, that's fine. You can watch this later. I'm going to watch the numbers plummet shortly. It's going to be great. But you can move that warp on top of the mesh without having to mess around with the mesh underneath. Blah. That sounds like just gobbledygook in my mouth when I say that. But it's very cool. I haven't gotten into being able to apply rotation deformers or any of that sort of stuff. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with Live 2D, but because this is a week-long jam, I really only had time to do this. And I remember seeing a pretty thorough Live 2D tutorial. Yeah, there's a few online. A lot of them, so a big problem that I have with tutorials aimed at beginners is that they tend to just kind of be demos with a lot of talking over. I don't like that. I don't learn very well from those, and I imagine there's a lot of people who also don't. So what I like to do is I like to take all that complex information, break it up into like little chunks and kind of offer it like that. Might not be the best way for most people. Again, I'm sure there's really good live 2D tutorials out there, but they're way more watchable, because whenever I'm trying to learn something, I'm usually in the middle of it. I need to do this very particular thing because I know everything else, and then when I watch this demo, it's like I'm scrubbing through hours of just somebody going like, okay, this is part 24. This is how you set a custom parameter. It's like, I know how to do that. But yeah, so for the background, I just, again, blocked it up in little chunks. I separated into little chunks of movement there, so you'll have the water there. The water movement is really just taking that same asset and scaling it up and down. So you can see that there. And then bloop and a bloop. And now let's go into the code real quick. Again, not a great live 2D tutorial, but I just want to give you guys context for some of the weird code you're about to see, because this is going to get real crazy real fast. All right. So let's go into the live 2D stuff, which, did I put that in here? Yep, yeah, it's just these two lines. So these two lines are all it took to get the live 2D images in there. How Renpi refers to it, and let me go into the images here. So in the game images folder, I have exports of those live 2D things, and really, go to the background. Really all it's exporting are these things. You get the texture. There we go. That's the one background image. You get the .moc file, which that's kind of showing off all the meshes and stuff like that. It's not really something you can read all that well. Model code and the JSON file here, the .cdi3. I don't know which one goes into which. I'm more familiar with Spine as an animation software, but one of these things basically just says, okay, on that image that you have, here are the little slices that we're taking out of it that are going to make each one of those warps there. The meshes, yeah. Those little chunks, those are the meshes. We're grabbing those. That's that information. Another one's just saying, oh, okay, so this is how, these are the parameters. Here are how those positions need to change over time. And everything else is just kind of like assisting those two bits of information. Renpi is just going to automatically know, hey, if you tell us the folder name where all this stuff is at, we'll just sort that out. So Magritte, it's just image Magritte. We're defining that image equals live 2D, which is the images / Magritte folder. And then these are just some specifications on there. Default fade 0.0. It just means I don't want animations to fade into one another. It can do that. It just shows you kind of like over time how long it takes for one animation to fade into the next. That's really helpful for sprite animations. For the applications that I'm using it for, where I am using that one sprite to do a whole bunch of different stuff, I don't really want that. So I want the default fade to be 0. And then loop equals true just means that all those animations are going to loop. You can set it so loop equals false, and each one of the animations that I set up, it would just play it once, but I'm okay with just doing a loop for the most part here. And then the background, but for everything else, what you can do is once you have that live 2D animation in there, whenever you define any of those animations, so here it would be Magritte, I would follow the name. So like normally when you have a sprite, you can name a sprite like, this is the sprite, and then you have the space. And then if you have different expressions for that sprite, you can say like, Eileen smile, Eileen frown, that sort of thing. Renpi handles it the same way, but in this case, it's all these motion files are those different expressions. So you have your base model, which is just what shows up in default in live 2D. So if I just say show Magritte, it's just going to show me that with all these things set for default. So let's set default values. So that would just be Magritte. Not bad. That's what I use it for mostly. But then each one of these motion files, those are going to be like the expressions there, which are just all the different animations. So because that's hard for me to keep track of, and because I'm using multiple copies of this in a scene at any given time, I'm basically taking all those definitions. So for the background specifically, images / Magritte background, blah, blah, blah. Background image sky is just the sky. Background image water is just the water. I have the wall top, wall bottom, and I want like multiple copies of these things. I am making new versions of each of these things that I'm going to use later on. So I have sky and sky 2 because I want to have multiple versions of that sky panning across the scene there. Water, wall top, wall B, wall top B, blah. I won't get into too many of these other definitions here. Some of the Magritte small and small. Actually, no, I will, because they're all very interesting. You're probably going to use some of these things at some point. So when I made those rain images, I needed them very small. And because I didn't want to make a new small image to be those rain bits, because that would kind of go against the spirit of the competition, which, again, let's post that up here. One sprite, one background. I took that Magritte texture, not the sprite, just the texture. I just needed the texture. I set that through an im.factor scale at like a very small, 0.03 of a percentage of its original size. So that's the small one. And then oh no, that's the larger one. And then 1/100th for the smaller. And I used those for rain particles. So if you guys remember my rain tutorial, I'm gonna drink water. Which is a very short, jaunty, like 3-minute video, I'm pretty sure. That's how I did the rain effect later on in the game. So yeah, I think that covers everything images wise. Let's go into how those images now are applied in there. So the camera is going to be the thing doing the bulk of work here. Did I create a camera reset here? I did not. Okay, I must have been in a hurry. So I do not remember the camera default values. Oh no, I do, because these are it. So by default, the camera is set at matrix transformer, like scale, offset, and rotate are all the. I set perspective equals true just to make sure that I could turn on the 3D effects. And let's just real quick. So this is what the Renpi action editor looks like now. The camera angles got pretty crazy. Oh, get ready, buddy. You might remember the Renpi action editor video. It's one of my most popular videos where I go over how to use the Renpi action editor. Whoever has been updating it, they've been updating it a lot lately. So I actually like it a lot better. It's a bit of a learning curve, and when I get really crazy with the 3D stuff here, you can see it has like the 3D previews on the side. It gets kind of nuts. But let's take the camera, 3D matrix, and we are going to just back off, and we are going to rotate just to kind of get a better look at what this scene is. Whoop. So let's see, watch the action editor video yesterday. It's a very good video. So here you can see there is one problem with the 3D viewer, is that it's not really true 3D. You can't have objects clip into one another in 3D space. You're still only seeing things in the order in which you present them to the viewer. It's just we are expressing each of those images in a 3D space. So yes, these things are rotated in 3-dimensional space, but they're not going to be interacting with each other as if they are in 3D space. That's why you can't have like, you know, shadows or whatever set in these scenes. So you kind of have to fake whatever you put in there. So here you can see I basically put, oh no, where's the apple? Well, whatever, it's somewhere in there. I think it's that little dot right over there. I basically put the sky and the water at an angle to each other, just so when you rotate through the scene, you kind of see one get shorter, one get taller. The walls in there with the top kind of angled. That's so when you kind of look over the wall, you see a little bit more of the top of the wall than you see the bottom. And the apple, oh, there's the apple. The apple is actually just really tiny in space. I think it's in the default position, but this time, instead of arranged in the front of everything, it's just arranged in the back. So that's that weird, elaborate 3D scene just expressed in 2D. Not all that interesting until you see it in motion like that. So I've seen people do some really cool stuff using 3D layers that are nowhere near as involved as I've created it, but it's pretty good. Boop, 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 boop. But yeah, just those little things where you kind of see that change of depth where the horizon line really isn't changing all that much, but the depth of the wall there. Just those little things I really like. Oh, just the way that like the sky sort of like, anyway, probably more work than I should have, but yeah. So each one of those images that I defined up here, I'm defining where it is in 3D space, which again in the video we'll go into it more, where we have the scale matrix, rotate matrix, all that sort of stuff set. This is super exciting. I bet people are doing some wild stuff with this, says Simedi. Sorry if I'm like butchering names, by the way. Yes, people are doing very interesting things. All right, bye Pepper Parker. But anyway, in the game, when I set these things, I'm not really moving them around much after this. After this point, I am just moving the camera and changing the expression for Magritte. So Magritte move right, Magritte stand left. These are all live 2D animations here. So from here, it's actually like very easy. I'm just moving the camera a whole lot, putting in text. Now, about that text, let's go into that, because that's something that I haven't gone into in any videos, and it's something that I've been experimenting with that I really wanted to find an efficient way to do it here in Renpi with this project. So you'll notice when I have the text here, it goes all along the screen. Now, what I used to do is I would use this code, and I'll show it to you here, because it's going to get kind of weird. Okay, I would use this tag show text, and then I would type something in. So here is the text, here it is, find me, and I'll make that really big, and you'll see why I really want to make it big. Size equals plus 200. Let's file, save, bring this up, refresh. So the text here, first off in the camera, looks funky. Let me rotate X. You'll notice the text exists in 3D space, which is very cool. I would have loved to use that, but that's also super hard to figure out positioning when you're actively moving the camera around. So if I ever wanted any consistency to the text, I would have had to figure out where the camera is at all times and just make sure that it is matching the camera position and offset. Again, there are some really good applications for this. I'm sure there's just like really cool stuff you can do as far as like hey, maybe in a visual novel, instead of having the text be just something that's on the forefront, maybe you're actually going through a scene and you're kind of going forward, like following text to text to text. I am probably going to do that because that sounds super cool as I say it aloud. But for a project where I really only had a couple of days to program this, I did not want to do that. So what I did instead is I created custom characters with different positions for the dialogue box. Now let me see if I can find where I put dialogue. Okay, so around here, I did change the kerning. I made note of that. No one's ever going to care about the kerning. Don't worry about it. I just made the text that I provided, I made it slightly thinner. I do not know why I thought this was so important. I must have been very tired. Somewhere around this screen, there we go. The height of the text box, the alignment, the size of it I changed. I changed these values to make the dialog box by default kind of takes most of the screen. But because I was going to be moving that dialog box around a lot, I wanted to make it like a little less than like a third of the size. Because then when I go into script here, when I go into this, I'm using the what position for each one of these defined characters to basically say, hey, when I'm speaking using this character, F_CL, which in this case is Phantomos, center left. I'm using the character to be at what position, 380X and 100Y, which those are the coordinates where that text box is going to be. And I'm using the callback Phantomos, which if you remember from the kinetic text tutorial that I did, oh no, did I move the bird? All right, no, I'm good. That is that's a modification that I added here where I made, actually, where is the definition for the, okay, it's right at the top here. Oh no, that's for a speaking thing. Where is the definition for that? Okay, you know what? Don't worry about it. Just trust me that when I say callback, oh, doy. No, that wasn't for the kinetic text. That was for a sound effect that I ended up not using. Dumb me. For all the Phantomos lines, I just used the SC thing here to make it shake, and I used the default size. I'm so sorry. I got so excited, and now this is dumb. I wanted to use the animal sounds feature for this, but it ended up not being feasible within the confines of the project. It would have taken way too long to customize it in the way that I wanted to. So I got a custom audio thing, and if you set the text length to be like under, oh hey Terra Rose, hey, if you set the text to like actually like instead of instantly appear, it would play a violin sound. So that's just what that callback is for. The important part is though, all of these characters aren't new characters. They're just different positions that I want the text to be in. So I have it set for a 3x3 grid. I made an extra one when I kind of noticed I always wanted stuff a little bit more turned over on the left side. So I made center, left, center, or center, left, yeah, whatever. So any position that I wanted the text in, I could go ahead and adjust it from there. And later on in the project, I realized I didn't even need this stuff. This stuff was kind of a waste. Thank you, Terra Rose. Yeah. Because what I could do for text from then on is I could just use /n there, which I will zoom in on this because I use this so often. I don't think I've ever mentioned it on any of my tutorials because I don't know where to fit it. But /n just means, hey, just press enter. Like it's one line down. And it is super useful for positioning text around a screen. So at a certain point, I realized once I had like, hey, I want this text box to be like in the middle or a little left. From there, it really didn't matter like where exactly vertically it was placed. I could just keep going like /n and move it down to where I need it to be. Well, I'll just keep it going from here. Yeah, viewers are dropping off too. Awesome. Yeah, I was just going to ask if y'all had any questions or anything about the process, or just kind of anything else that I can use this as a chance to kind of explore Renpi a little bit more. I'm going to get rid of that big old text thing. Oopsie doopsie. Where is that show text thing? Where did I just put it? There we go. So yeah, anybody have any questions? Anything you'd kind of want to see more in particular? I'm curious what the lore mean though. Do you mean the lore of Renee Magritte? The lore of my videos? What do you mean? I feel like I'm missing out on something now. Second mention of lore. By the way, there's a slight delay between the chat and the video, so I'm not talking with you guys as fast as I'd like to. How do you organize all your script? And this is a question from Sandy. How do you organize all your scripts and code to be tidy and easy to look through? I don't always. You can see it's kind of messy right now. In another project, let me open up another one real quick. It's a little bit neater. This is my first visual novel, King of the Cul-de-Sac. The initial script file. We have all these achievement things, chapter save set, but the actual game, oh no, nope, that's the whole game right there. This is the whole game. I'm gonna finish up Sandy's question real quick, and I'm gonna get back to you, Tara Rose. So what I'm doing here is when the game starts, this is just a testing thing that jumped to clown thing. So when the game starts, I call part 1 start. Part 1 start is over in here. This is all of part 1. Then at the very end, it's a very big game, by the way. At the end, I press return, which brings me back to the script. I set a few achievements here, and then I call part 2. Part 2's over here in a separate RPY file. And even some of the parts of here, I have things where because let's see here, I have a brain battle up here. Yep, so I have like just stuff that I call to. It's really just a lot of separated different RPY files that I put in different places. I mean, heck, even in the script thing, that's not even the start of a lot of this stuff. I have all these preload definitions, all the stuff that's supposed to go above the label start. I just put them all in here. So Renpi is going to parse every RPY file that you're going to have in your game folder. So knowing that, you can just kind of arrange it however works best for you to parse it. So for me, I just separated things into the different chapters. I have different like little puzzles. I made its own like little RPY file there. And then the script, before I added the achievements, which that I needed that in the script just because that's easier for me to kind of figure that out on like a higher level. But you know, originally it was really just like call part 1, call part 2, call part 3, call part 4, and then depending on this other variable, it then goes, oh, okay, here's the last kind of part that you go to. And then if you happen to get all of them, so if house completion equals 4, if forest exploration equals 3, if endings equals 6, it calls the secret ending. The whole game's just in that one thing, and it's just referring to all those other sections. So keeping it organized is really just a matter of separating stuff out into as many clear to parse texts as it is for you to do. Now let's go to Teros' question. Who is Phantomus? Why the detective? Why Apple? What happened to the world there? So much thing I'm curious about, but I guess is a technical vid, so no need to answer. Good, because I won't. The only important part, really, I guess, is I read this whole book on Rene Magritte, which gave me really good insight into his process, into his likes, the things that interested him. There was a really good essay, actually, that he made. I think I have it here. That really goes into like what his work is. So a lot of the like Phantomus, all that sort of stuff, that's all just set dressing. But the essence of it is this little essay that Rene Magritte did for some like surrealist magazine. So an object is not so attached to its name that we cannot find another that suits it better. Sometimes the name of an object can take the place of an image. There are some objects which need no name. A word can take the place of an object in reality. A word sometimes serves only to designate itself. A word sometimes serves only to designate itself. An image can take the place of a word in a proposition. These first 6 little things here explain a lot of his paintings up until like 1929-ish. He was doing a lot of paintings that were taking these basic principles. And then some of this other stuff here were concepts that he was exploring in like kind of the... He had kind of like a lost period during World War II where he was like, I'm just going to copy the masters for a while, just kind of have fun with that. But once he got onto his own thing, he started exploring these ideas that he was cementing early on in his career and really exploring them fully. So I won't go all that much into the lore of it. I don't want to, because I feel like that kind of goes against the nature of how Rene Magritte set up his pieces. And I feel like if I explain the lore of my piece, I have to explain my interpretation of the lore of Magritte, and I don't want to do that yet. But I guess like the broader point though is that these are things that the original version of the script I wrote day 1 and I built everything off of that. But literally it was the night before this was due, I realized I hated the story. I directed out like all these sequences for this thing, which, whoops, I opened a second instance instead of the original one. There we go. I really liked how he directed this thing. The story I had written was not quite as it just wasn't quite up to the visual standards. So yeah, I kind of reworked it from scratch. I found some place that worked better, but that's just an instance of where during the process of creation, sometimes you'll make something that has kind of changed from its original form, and it's okay to go ahead and kind of change that original thing. I had this like little nugget, and as long as I kept staying true to that thing, I was totally fine switching everything else around it. Sorry, that was kind of rambly. Let's go to somebody else's question. Do you think I could use live 2D animations to give my VN like a TV show-esque camera angles? That would be cool. Yeah, there's actually... Okay, no, I don't want to call them out on a stream. There's another creator that is doing like some pretty cool stuff right now with the 3D action camera, where I can totally imagine live 2D adding a lot to it. I mean, yeah, a lot of it comes down to like, yes, you can, but what is going to be feasible for a project in the long term? And when it comes to visual novels, a lot of them have kind of defined themselves on being able to construct repeatable layouts, formats, and conventions that can be used over and over and over again. And when you have animations, like Phoenix Wright is something where they are very good at, they'll make animations that fit, that you can watch them over and over and over again, and they just get better and better and better in context. But that's a lot easier to imagine that finished product than to actually like make it and use it properly in context, because it's so dependent on the courtroom stylings of it. So yes, you can. I don't think it would be helpful in every single circumstance. Some images don't work in Renpi when it's a Sandy again. Some images don't work in Renpi when it's in a subfolder with images. The images can work when it's placed in something that's not a subfolder, but having a lot of folders clutter things up. Any tips? They should work if it's in a subfolder. You just need to refer to that subfolder. So if it's not going to work for this project because all of them are depending on live 2D things. But let's say, here, I'll open my sample project, wherever that's at. Oh, hey, I'll open this guy up. So this is from my RPG Fight Engine video. So images / night idle. Oops. It's all right. So just, oh, actually, there's so many of these things. Well, no, night idle should still work there. So night idle. Boop, boop, boop. And then just making sure that night idle is used in here. In harder battle. Yeah, it should be. Okay. So we're going to open this up and it is going to break. There we go. Can't find the images. Night idle. Blah. There we go. Put copies of that in there. And now hold on. Up. There we go. Now it's going to work. So it's showing the night idle. Yeah, it's not going to parse through the entire images folder. You do need to refer to I love your video. Oh, thank you, Noop. But yeah, you will see in, oh my god, I have so many things open now. Don't save. Oop. Okay, wherever that's at. The point is, it's not going to parse through all the subfolders in the images folder. If you have anything in a subfolder, you need to refer to it in that specific subfolder. It'll parse the one, not all of them. You can see it in the Magritte thing here, though. The simple way to kind of figure that out is that, yes, you can't do that like characters expressions thing anymore if you do that, which is why in the images folder, I like to put all the characters and all the expressions there, which as long as you name everybody and, you know, follow the standard format, it's actually pretty easy to parse in there. But for all like the weird images, so here I have all the background images, Magritte background, and then the name of the blah blah blah. What is the clip in your hair? Oh, that's the bird from the RPG Fight video. So you'll see here I just defined new images. So this is for stuff where I'm trying to think like what's the best application for it, because even in King of the Cul-de-Sac I ended up just keeping everything in one folder and it was very messy. I think it was only like maybe a few screens. I was like, I'll just refer everything in this subfolder. I would just kind of make new defined images for stuff. I don't know exactly the context where you need stuff in a whole bunch of subfolders. Again, as long as like, but for like a lot of really complicated images where maybe it's like the way that you name them has to be kind of weird and complicated, you'll just define stuff within Renpi. It's obviously like a balance. Like it would be great to keep everything organized, but you honestly don't have to. There are so many games I've worked on, which again, 10 years of experience in the industry, where it's just an absolute mess. I've had to do HTML5 conversions of a whole bunch of Flash games where no one actually, so many like files are just like, you know, sphere 23. That does not help, and I have to figure it out. But you know, it's a balance. So, any other big questions? How do I stop procrastinating and start writing? I mean, right there, you just have to stop procrastinating and start writing. They just use the search feature. Sonic, what do you mean by that? They just use the search feature. I don't know what that means. Anyway, let me get back to the stop procrastinating and start writing thing. I'm terrible at being good about writing. I need to be like in a mood for it, and usually that mood needs to be a cold panic, where I know I just need to get something on the page. So I will usually force myself into those circumstances to get myself to write. But I would not advise it. For a lot of people, it's just a matter of getting in the habit of writing for a good chunk of time. For me, I like to just have files where I work on, where if I get an idea, I'll add stuff to a little like note page. Once I have like a whole bunch of ideas like in a little cluster there, then it's just a matter of like, oh, here's an idea that I like. Let me take that thing, refine it, just kind of figure that stuff out from there. So, yeah, I can't really offer much advice as far as like stop procrastinating other than just find something that works for you. Let's see here. You just look and find something that's a mess. Oh yeah, Control F is just a little search feature here in Visual Studio, which I've converted to from the Atom feature. But like Control F works for everything, like web pages and stuff like that. If there's any specific thing where I can remember that's the code, I'll go ahead and search for it from there. Or do you mean like Renpi? Renpi using a search feature? I whatever. You can clarify it in a little bit. I'll get to Noops. I used your code for RPG, but when the enemy attack, it called the animation, then skipped the you got hit. It skipped it? Let's look at that animation code real quick. Because the animation code's it's not gonna work in your game unless you used all the exact definitions that I used. That's why I really suggested using it for reference. Let me open that code up. Oh, come on. Oh, there's like so many different modules here. Call the animation, then skip the you got hit. Why do you want to do that? I guess maybe if you forgot to put a dialogue in there, because Renpi uses the dialogues as like kind of the stop gates. So just make sure that you have a dialogue thing in there. That's a lot of the times why I made sure that use that to separate stuff out. Oh, thanks, Igretro. Let's see here. So yeah, maybe the dialogue's the thing that's not working there. Vimy, can you define what is a game mechanic? I'm currently trying to write to do a game analysis for a thesis. I don't know. Oh my god. I don't think I've ever actually had to like define it. Because there's a difference between like game mechanics and game systems. Because the game mechanics usually kind of refer to how the player interacts with the game. You want to know what? I'm going to make a firm declaration right now. I'm not a critic. I'm not somebody who I don't feel right making critical analysis of games because I am first and foremost an artist. I don't like to make definitions. I like to uh, break apart the ones that already exist. So that's where my joy is. So no, I can't define a game mechanic for you. I can give you a rough, ballpark figure of what it is. But if you're writing a thesis, you should just find some other smart person who wrote a textbook and just go with their definition. Actually, do I have any textbooks? You're away from the green screen. I use extensions to block the rest of the internet. So maybe choice between being bored and doing what I'm supposed to do. That could work. Igretro asks, can I ask you, is there a way to add animations to the game? I've made an idle animation spine 2D and I want characters to breathe a little. So you missed the part earlier, which when this video goes live, you can check out the live 2D stuff. Yes, you can add animations. Spine does not have integration with Renpi yet. Fingers crossed. Not going to happen anytime soon. And I'll probably be doing a tutorial on live 2D in the not too distant future. But I kind of have to get there. But yes, there are ways to add animations to the game. It's pretty good. Let's keep going through this. There you go, little animations. I was thinking about adding a breathing thing to this guy, but the overcoat seems like too much. I just want to say, Vims, like, I appreciate all you do. This is from Jinzo. Your tutorials are so helpful and the quality is superb. I wish they reached a larger audience. They are. I get like 25 new followers every day. I'm doing pretty good. And on that note, my throat's starting to kill me. I think I've gone through everything major that really builds this game here. I will be having a video later on that goes through the actual, not day-to-day, but the kind of the more the game dev journey. It's going to be aimed at a general audience. It's not going to go anywhere near as in detail in the code and all that as I have here. Oh, there is one thing I did want to mention because it's cool. It's so cool. So one of the things that I like about, actually, let's just start from here. Oh, right. Crap. All right. This will be a great thing to end on. This will be worth it. This will get people to go through the question answer sequence later on. All right. So you can use color matrix to color individual assets, but you can also use the color matrix on the camera, and the newest version of Action Editor reflects all this, and I love it. I might have gone over this in the Action Editor thing, but in 3D it looks super cool, I think. So let's go through the 3D matrix, offset C. All right, so yeah, you can adjust the brightness, hue, saturation, and contrast all right here in the camera, and you can see it live. You can't do a tint matrix on it on top yet. It's getting there, but I absolutely love doing this, and I don't think it's great design at this point. Like, you can't just invert stuff and say, oh, look at how great I am at being a game dev. That's really advanced stuff. It's not, but I don't know. It's cool. It's stuff where when it comes to individualized assets, it's going to be really useful. But for here, it was just kind of a fun chance to show stuff off. Okay, that was less of a closer than I thought it would be. But anyway, thanks everybody for watching the live stream. Be sure to check out the game afterwards. I'm not sure if it's set up for you to check out the code directly in there. I have to take a look, but you know, I think it's worth taking a few techniques that I used here and building off of them. I'm going to be spending the next month getting ready for the next game jam. I will have some more videos coming out, so be sure to subscribe, like the live stream, and I might be live streaming some of the stuff that I do for the Spooktober VN jam. So I hope I might see some of you guys participate in that one too. All right, well, thank you very much for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe. Oh my God, that is not a closer. Have a good day. Bye.